Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gfinity Arena, live from the heart of London for the Hearthstone Summer Masters 1 Championship Sunday. And we have one more semi-final left, guys. Lothar and Salt joining me on the panel, of course. We have our second semi-final coming up in a second. Who's going to face Legendaren in the final? We're going to find out. Hawkeye versus Unskiller. Hawkeye, the tournament favorite. Unskiller, probably definitely the underdog out of these four players. Probably definitely, I just said. That's a thing.
Good sentence.
Yeah,
that's what's known as hedging your bets.
Yeah, exactly. Lothar, why is Hawkeye such a favorite?
Well, he's more known. He already had a showing in a big broadcasted tournament. So I think this is more... and he was showing a really current playstyle. This is one of the things that you have to invent in yourself when you want to be a decent player. Because if you do like a mix of passive and aggressiveness in your playstyle, it doesn't really work. You're either one of those or just push it to the max with the aggressive playstyle. And I think Hawkeye has really good mindset and playstyle when it comes to competitive gaming. So this is why he's my favorite here.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that there have been a lot of players here that we've had no criticisms about, but Hawkeye is a player that I actually have a lot of praise about as the way he's played today. Particular player I mentioned earlier where turn 3 he just played Farseer instead of Imp Gang Boss against Patron Warrior, which it seems like, well, Imp Gang Boss is your better minion. Of course you want to play that one first, but if based on his hand, he didn't have any answer to an Acolyte of Pain in that situation, which would have allowed the Patron Warrior to spiral out of control. So he played the minion that could contest it. And just throughout the games, there have been several things that he does, and I'd stop and look at, why is he doing that? Oh, right, because he's really good at Hearthstone. That's why he's doing that, yeah. So like his line of play has just been really solid, and the final thing working in his favor is that he's finally abandoned the mid-range Shaman that he has been eternally famous
that's a good
for.
point. Yeah.
And he's just brought really, really solid decks. Mid-range Paladin.
Some unconventional choices, though. He's one of only two players. In fact, we can see the lineups on the screen here. One of only 2 players to bring Mage, and the only player in the tournament bringing Paladin. Also, the only player not bringing Warrior, which we talked about in a minute. Also, not bringing Hunter, which has been one of the most popular decks here. Lothar, what do you make of Hawkeye's lineup, those choices that he's made to not bring Warrior, to bring things like Paladin, which maybe aren't considered as strong right now?
Not about not bringing the Warrior. I think that might be a correct choice if you think about people playing counters to Patron. The one thing that you can't really do is play counter deck to Patron, at least not now. So I don't really like it when people are not playing Warrior because it's just the strongest deck, and I think if you want to win tournaments, you always want to bring the strongest decks. Because even you can analyze like other card games. Always people are bringing the biggest and strongest decks to the tournaments, and they usually win the tournament anyway, even with like full counter decks in the meta game. But in general, Hawkeye is a really great player, and the Conquest is kind of different when it comes to playstyles.
Right.
So you can still win without, like, let's say the Patron in this case. And I'm really looking forward for the Paladin matchups, because this might be the weak point for Hawkeye in this tournament.
Well, we can see Hawkeye on the screen there, obviously getting ready. I think another advantage that Hawkeye has, I know the two of them played each other in the first round, but Deathlore, Hawkeye's teammate, is also here this weekend.
Yes.
So he has that kind of camaraderie. And obviously once Deathlore was eliminated yesterday, I'm sure that he was helping Hawkeye to prepare for today, to get him in the right mindset. Any tips that you maybe had from, obviously they got to play each other with their tournament decks. So they got a really good look at each other. And you can see, obviously, another true or false question before I leave you guys to work that one out at home.
Yeah.
But we talked about DreamHack Summer, one of his achievements as well. Also the EU versus CN tournament. He beat Tiddler Celestial in the semi-finals of that, who is one of the very best players in the world, I think we can all agree. Also being Eloise, who's now becoming a very popular player since time for Temple Storm as well. But yeah, Hawkeye has the achievements, he has the notoriety, he has the team now. Seems like everything might be coming together for this to be the first step for Hawkeye to becoming perhaps at least a big name in the European scene.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, Hawkeye has some very, very stellar results in some very, very big tournaments. What he doesn't have is a trophy with his name on it just yet. And this could be the first step to really like get his name out there amongst those dozen or so top names that are always there in Hearthstone. This could be the start of his push to really get into that group.
I said this before. The good thing about this tournament is the trophy is sitting in front of them in the booths down there. They can see it from the booth while they're playing, so they can very literally keep their eyes on the prize, Lothar.
Oh, really? Oh, but at least now we're talking about the prize, about the trophy, and I think that's the most important part, because we all know they are playing for the money too. But if I would be in that booth, the money wouldn't be a goal for me. The goal is the trophy, is the thing that can boost you up in the tournament scene, and this is something you really want to do, and you want to brag about. Oh well, I'm a champion of a premier tournament, and the money isn't important at that. You're here for the long run, so you want to be, known as a champion.
Absolutely.
Well, we haven't actually talked about Unskiller that much. He's definitely the underdog of the 4 players who made it through. Was not really, I guess, expected to make it this far, though did perhaps come from an easier group than in Group B. The only one of our players who's not on Twitter as well, which is interesting. Maybe that's maybe that tells us something about him.
I can tell you why. Like,
why
Twitter
is
not popular is not popular in Poland at all. I have no idea why, but it's just like that. Like, no one almost is using Twitter in Poland.
Well, you can see he has had some success on the Polish scene in some national tournaments, maybe not known outside of that.
Why do I get the feeling that tidbit was fed to production by Nimsh, specifically?
I can in fact confirm that I sent production to talk to Nimsh to get a fact about Unskiller. So that fact did indeed come from Nimsh.
Yep.
Just wanted to point that out. Nimsh, wants to give a fact about Unskiller, but wants to really make it a fact about himself.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for that, Nimsh, who is not going to be casting our next game, so hopefully he's just not listening somewhere.
Right. I just get away with that one for free.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in this game. Hawkeye, of course, we've talked about, is the big favourite, but Unskiller, what we saw from him yesterday, Sottle, his play looked really good.
Yeah, it was very solid. Like I said, there was a handful of players that we had no complaints about, and he definitely kind of fits into that group. He didn't. His games were more straightforward than some of the other sets we've seen, so he didn't really even have the opportunity to make those spectacular, insightful plays that would really impress us. That doesn't mean he's not capable of them. It just means that the opportunities didn't come up to present them.
He had just better ones, just to be like the aggressive player.
Right. Yeah. So he has every chance of putting up a great fight here in the semi-finals.
Well, let's get quick predictions from you guys. Who's going to take it, Lothar?
I think it's Hawkeye.
Sottle?
Hawkeye.
United front up here on the analyst desk. Let's take it out to our casters and see what they think. Caldi, Raven, it's all on you guys.
Thank you, Callum, and we're joined here by Raven. How have you been feeling about the event today?
Yeah, really good. I mean, we just saw I got to cast a great set last game. It was a fairly swift 3-0, but some really good games and a great performance from Legendary. And I hope we see the same for the next set. And Hawkeye versus Unskiller, on one hand, as the guys were saying, Hawkeye's favourite, probably the biggest name or one of the biggest names here, and definitely has performed yesterday in his games, but Unskiller as well from the set I saw of him. And again, another steady player, and we'll see. Legendary did a bit of an upset then against Tom, but we'll see if Unskiller can do the same thing.
Yeah, I think the main thing is going to be the lineup. They've played a few games in the booth already, gotten used to it, so I think nerves won't be as big of a part here in the semi-final. So actually looking at the lineup, we have, I believe, the first time in the tournament that we have no mirror match possible. So it's going to be Warlock, Paladin, and Mage against Warrior, Hunter, Rogue. Now, just looking at the lineup, I was talking to the players before, and Hawkeye thought his Paladin was going to be the weak point, and I've got to agree there. Unskiller looking at the mid-Hunter as being the weakest class, and if we look at the mirror matchup there, I mean, Paladin kind of wrecks mid-Hunter, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit of a problem, but I think if Unskiller can line up his Hunter versus one of the other decks, probably the Warlock as opposed to the Mage, because I think with the Mage that Hawkeye's playing, it's one of those games that can swing very quickly either way. If he manages to, say, get the Flame Waker down and proc some spells to just clear up the Hunter's board, then there's no great way to come back. You'd probably need like Leok into Unleash to actually just wrestle board control back there. But you probably want to see if you can get the Hunter into the Warlock, he might be okay. Yeah. But otherwise, he might just struggle with that specific matchup. But then again, I think Unskiller's Rogue does really well versus most of Hawkeye's lineup.
Yeah, the Rogue looks like a complete free win here. We have the Patron Warrior as well, really strong against Hawkeye's lineup. So I think it's going to come all down to the Hunter. I'm going to actually give a slight edge to Unskiller here.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think it's a really tough one. Like, Hawkeye's got a lot more experience, but I think Unskiller's probably a little bit pumped as well, and he seems quite confident. I know Nimsh was talking to him a bit earlier. He said he's really confident with his lineup, really confident with this match coming up. And I think the nerves things, like you said, he's played some games there. It's day 2. He's actually in a really strong point for himself in his career, so that if he does take the win, it's another huge step forward to taking home the overall win for the Gfinity. So yeah, it's a tough one to call. I think I'm actually just going to go with Unskiller based on the lineup actually.
I think the main thing is when you have players of this caliber, I would give the edge to the player with a stronger lineup against the other player, and I mean, we have Unskiller queuing up the Rogue, very predictable. He just wants to scout and get that first win for the confidence there. But I mean, looking at the lineups as well, Hawkeye has the mage, and it's a bit of a volatile deck. It's not a deck that's really consistent, like a freeze mage, like a patron, like a hunter, you know, where you can rely on the hero power. If you don't draw the coin, if you don't draw the Flamewaker, you're in trouble against a lot of stuff. But we see here, the first game is gonna be Rogue versus Mage, and the Rogue with the coin. This is probably the most important matchup when it comes to the coin.
Yeah, I agree, because you know, like you said, on both sides, as Rogue, you always want the coin. It procs combos, get you be able to do a few things a little bit earlier than planned. And whereas again for the Mage, it's key. If you coin with Flamewaker down, and you know, you've got some other cards like Mirror Image or something like that, you can get a lot of damage done. And we see both players, other than maybe the Dr. Boom there in Hawkeye's hand, both players have got a reasonable start.
Ooh.
He's actually just portaled into another scientist for free. So
doesn't get much better than that, but I feel like he's most likely only running 2 mirror images, so
yeah, I think the
and 2 mirror entities as well. So I mean, if it's only mirror entities, he could possibly just AoE the both of them down and only gets 1 secret. But he has a secret in hand. It's always really bad to start with a secret in hand, especially against Rogue here. But generally, it's been the Rogue that's relied most on the coin. But now we have a new deck that relies even more on the coin. And we see an AoE coming here down. Probably only gonna be 1 secret coming out of those scientists.
Yeah, and we do see it is just double mirror entity. He does get the freeze ray, which isn't too terrible. I don't think it's called emergency coolant, but I prefer freeze ray. You know, that is actually might be quite useful in this matchup to just, if something gets oiled, you can at least delay a turn. But now looking at Hawkeye's hand, it's like you said, it's a bit volatile. And with he had a good early start, but I think the portal into the scientist was actually a bit of a problem for him. He combined with only playing 1 secret in the deck, 2 copies of which, but 1 was in his hand as well. So we see another portal as well. In his hand, just come into it, and he did get the Shredder from the Mirror Entity though, so not all bad, and he can actually clear up Unskiller Shredder quite easily and play another Mirror Entity, so that's going to definitely slow Unskiller down a little bit, as Rogue doesn't normally have too many good minions to drop onto a Mirror Entity.
The thing is, you know, generally with the Flamewaker Mage, you want to be very aggressive and kill the combo decks. But against Rogue especially, they can kind of just pick off the threats, you know, backstab the Sorcerer's Apprentice, eviscerate the Flamewaker. So having a more solid lineup here in terms of the draws really looks good for Hawkeye. I mean, he has a 6-drop into a 7-drop and has options. He runs Ragnarok, I believe, in this Mage as well, so that might come into handy here.
Yeah, it's another reasonable threat, and even like, although sapping Dr. Boom isn't fantastic, it can happen if the Rogue needs just 1 more turn to just do a big burst, but any of these targets, like Sylvanas being sapped, but then Ragnaros might come out, and there's yet another legendary we see in Hawkeye's quite heavy hand, but combined with the emergency coolant and the portal, that's not too terrible, and he does get Sylvanas on an empty board, so he's down to Unskiller now to try and respond, and he's not really got the sap that he really needed there to just gain that 1 extra turn, so Lotheb's going to have to do.
Yeah, they're not the best hand here from Unskiller. Things not looking too good, I guess. I mean, the Sylvanas is going to be weak, but doesn't even need it. He should just go, yeah.
I kind of like just Dr. Boom and go face with Sylvanas. I think that's pretty reasonable. Just put some pressure on the Rogue, because he's sitting at 27 health, so the odds on Unskiller being able to do, just with that Lotheb up, normally you don't really like keeping the minion down because of oils, but the odds on him pulling out a massive oil turn, just winning the game on 27 health, are quite small. But he does decide to clear up and play the Dr. Boom anyway.
I believe the reason is, if he would face something like Deadly Poison Flurry, he could get full clear there with the Lotheb, so Hawkeye just plays it safe, and I have to agree with this decision here. But he did get the Big Game Hunter. 1 more mana needed there. Guess he wished that the preparation wasn't Innovate.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit unfortunate. He does know he has it for next turn, so if Dr. Boom, you know, if he trades into the Drake, then that's actually, although it doesn't always look great, it's going to be okay for Hawkeye because he's got some more value, and if he gets BGH'd anyway, that's fine. He is going to get 7 damage one way or the other, though, and the Archmage, again, with Antonidas and then the portal into the coolant, he's looking really good, and he does finally get a Flamewaker a little bit late in the game, more late than he'd want to, but he does have the spells in hand to actually make some use of that if he wants to, and especially with the Boombots in hand as well to just do that extra little bit of damage.
Now he's playing really scared of the Flurry here. I mean, I kind of would have disliked him to see Antonidas and coolant. I mean,
yeah, because now he's only really got 1 spell that he can go straight from Antonidas into a spell to get another fireball, but
double miss. This may actually cost him a lot here. Ouch.
Yeah, the Flame Tongue coming down for 0 mana. in some situations it's really good, I guess, but from, you know, there are other much better cards you can get from Portal. So BJ's just going to come into play. He did take 9 there, though.
Now, at 17, he's relatively safe, but let's look at the scenario if you just go for Antonidas and Coolant, you know. You have 2 fireballs in hand, you can go phase, and you're looking really solid. I mean, in terms of that, you can still kind of go for that, but now he lost the tempo slightly in terms of getting a Flame Waker versus getting that Antonidas on board, just for the, you know.
Yeah, and he still could have played the Flame Tongue Totem as well because it was free, so he still would have had the extra damage on Boom.
He
so
technically wouldn't have been able to cast a table portal instead.
Oh,
you know?
sorry,
But
yeah, he got that off that turn, didn't he? Yeah, my mistake. So he does follow up with the Mana Worm, though, and there's the Coolant. But as you said, maybe he could have got a little bit further ahead if he'd just done that 1 turn earlier.
The Hawkeye obviously the master of this deck here, and there's no Ragnar so far, but the Astral Drake coming down from Hawkeye into his hand is really strong. A double deadly poison, this can be painful.
Yeah, you can clear up the Antonidas though with the big game hunter, so not too terrible. He knows there's only one of the fireballs is standard fireball from his deck, right? So he only gains 1 fireball from Antonidas, so he knows there's at least 1 in hand, so at least he's got some knowledge about what he needs to try and play around, and it looks like he's just going to turn up the here and just try and push for damage.
Why go double though?
Yeah, I'm surprised he actually, as I was just saying, he looks like he's going to go aggressive and then clears the Mana Worm with the double poison. Was an interesting play.
He can just go for 1 poison, you know, keep the 1/3 dagger, and then if he wants to go for 5 damage, he can do it next turn, and possibly, you know, comboing into Tinker's Oil or something, you know, have the combo availability. But this is...
It's just going to take him to 1 with a... Oh, sorry, yeah, he's going to be able to just burst him down next turn, and you're really comfortable doing this because the Rogue's got no cards. Like,
I mean, yeah, like had he waited with the deadly poison, he could have now S-side for 2 damage, you know. There's no good reason to wait. I mean, he throws away, you know, a whole deadly poison for what? No damage extra. He would have done the same amount of damage with the 2. But see Hawkeye taking game number 1 here, kind of convincingly.
Yeah, I think it was really strange as well because his draws weren't amazing. He had a good, like, sort of quick start, but then, you know, the Blade Flurry cleared it up, which a lot of the time spells the end of a deck like that, a deck of the Tempo Mage. If there's an early clear and then your hand's a bit more late game, but because we saw Unskiller not be able to really capitalize on that too much after the Blade Flurry, he had the time for cards like Sylvanas, Dr. Boom, and the Antonidas to actually come into play and do quite a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, in this game, Hawkeye simply just outplayed Unskiller. Sadly, I mean, that's just the case. Like, Unskiller got everything he needed in terms of winning this game, and he just didn't make it work, you know. But you know, getting the mage win is decent for Hawkeye, but it's not as important as, you know, had he won with the Paladin, or I believe even the Warlock, you know. But yeah. Yeah,
I agree. I think he did just manage to get the mage win there. So Unskiller's now still got his warrior and his hunter and his rogue. Do you think he's going to just lock rogue in again?
I think I would.
Now that the mage is gone as well, like, it's really good matchup versus paladin and versus warlock. It's not too terrible at all either. So I think he might just keep on the rogue and just get a win on the board. Or I suppose that's what he wanted to do last game, but unfortunately didn't work out for Unskiller there.
But we had both players leading with their strongest deck in this match, so I guess that makes them kind of predictable, and maybe then Hawkeye starts predicting that Unskiller will lead with the rogue again, and then maybe he picks something to counter that. But I mean, we're walking into the Unskiller's strongest deck again, and Hawkeye's weakest deck here in game number 2. Maybe he wants to just get a quick win with that. I was talking with Hawkeye about, you know, rogue versus paladin. He figured it would be maybe 40% chance to win with the paladin. You know, I think it's like it depends on how the rogue is built. If they have something like Dr. Boom or you know, more late game oriented with that, I think the rogue has an even better chance, maybe 70, 80. But we know that at least Unskiller has Harrison Jones. That might come into play.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Harrison might just actually just seal the deal even more there. If you can get one onto like a True Silver or something, it just locks the Paladin out even more. But we do see cards like the Blessner Kings coming into Paladin recently, and it does have that surprise factor as well. And even on a 1/1, it's not too easy to deal with for the rogue. Maybe, you know, like a sap helps, but it's just an additional threat. So I think Hawkeye's still got an okay chance. It's definitely not favoured, but, you know, he's brought this deck that's we've seen he's the only person to bring Paladin, so he must be really confident with it. And he's already 1-0 up, so he has, you know, he's one step forward there. So see what he can do with a Paladin. He does have a bit of a janky hand, I would say.
I think this is not the match we wanted, though. I believe Unskiller just won this pick phase in terms of bringing the rogue again. maybe Hawkeye figured that he would change it up, you know, into the Hunter, possibly try to get a free win there, but yeah, I think Unskiller should be looking good. A heal bot, not the best thing against Paladin. Against Paladin and Shu, you technically want the Belcher over the heal bot, but I think to know this about this matchup, I mean, yeah, the muster is kind of horrible in this case.
Yeah, I think looking at it overall though, like Unskiller's hand's pretty good. Double preps might be a bit too heavy because he doesn't really have the high spells, but he knows if he does draw into sprint, then he's in the money. But having the Fan of Knives, a Deadly Poison, and a Harrison, it gives you like the answers to so many of the Paladin's options, at least early game, and we can see there the Fan of Knives just clears a muster. He does now draw into another one, so he might feel it's a little bit safer to maybe even muster again because his other plays aren't too amazing. Coin Harrison isn't going to do too much.
Now, one thing I want to look at from the last turn there, he had an option to go, you know, to not attack with a 1-1 weapon. I think that was definitely what needed to be going for. I mean, why attack with a 1-1? You could potentially go, like, let's say, prep sprint, Deadly Poison and kill a Shredder, or you know, Harrison prep, Deadly Poison to kill a Shredder, you know, in terms of that, so...
Oh, and he does burn a sap.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one of the... it sounds like a bit strange to say, like, the danger of Harrison with a Deathlight Rogue against the Muster, because they actually... the Muster weapon actually has a lot of charges, and it's like if you, say, muster a Doomhammer or a Jaraxxus weapon, sometimes you do just have to take the burn, because the value from playing the Harrison outweighs the potential on the burn.
Prep, Eviscerate. If he was going to go for Prep Eviscerate, then he should have done it before overdrawing, and Unskiller is shaking his head here. Is he maybe getting a bit nervous in this match?
Yeah, and also just to Prep Eviscerate a 1-1 as well. I mean, obviously he's probably scared of the what's the name of the card that's now...
Quartermaster,
That's it, the Quartermaster. But
still, you can
like
you can Prep Eviscerate the 3-3. I mean, at this point in the game, at 26 health, you don't really care about your health anyway. So maybe if you take 3 damage extra, that's no problem.
Yeah.
If you trade 2 3-3s into the Harrisons, also no problem. You know. So
yeah, I think he's playing like maybe overly safe there, and like you said, a slight misplaying, burning the cards that he then reduced his hand down anyway afterwards. So, and it was a sap as well, which
I mean,
you know, when there's cards like Tyrion, and you know, in the Paladin, that you've almost got like he's in 100% of this type of Paladin deck. Like that's really key to winning the game.
The thing though, you know, is if you don't sap the Tyrion, there's very few targets to sap. I mean, you're gonna sap the Quartermaster, and then he plays it again. You're gonna sap the Harrison, the anti-heal bot. You have to sap maybe a Shredder, and that's okay value, I guess, but without a Viral Teacher, it doesn't really stack as much as it did before. And people have been cutting out the Viral Teachers for Shredders to play better against the Patron now, and kind of forfeiting some of the power against the Paladin here. Yeah,
but we can see Hawkeye's got a bit of an awkward turn, I think. Okay, so I was going to say I think he might well coin into Dr. Boom just to get it on the board, but he values just getting rid of that Deadly Poison instead. We can see that the 2 minions, I suppose Harrison trades with the 2 minions on the board quite well as well, so he gets decent value out of that. He does draw into Lay on Hands, which the longer this game goes on, the more important that card is.
Yeah, but Hawkeye currently doesn't need the draw at all here. He sacrifices the 1-2 for a weapon, okay. Now he goes from playing very aggressively with weapons early to very conservatively in the mid game here, and he's kind of going back and forward, shaking his head here. I think Hawkeye may be just getting to him in this match. Yeah.
Yeah, and dropping the Dr. Boom on curve, as everyone says, is never a bad thing at all. And he
tough tech Big Game Hunter though.
Oof. And he's even got Ragnaros to follow up as well. It's just the 2 Quartermasters are a little bit dead, especially now that he knows like both musters are gone. So it's not like he can pull off a combo later on. So the Quartermaster are a little bit dead. And with the big game coming in there to take down the Dr. Boom, and you know Ragnaros is a bit safer, but the board's really full and you've got no consecration or anything to help clear. So it's a bit of a, I think Hawkeye's in a little bit of a rough state at the moment, but he does have a lot of sustain. So maybe he just wants to just play the game out quite long, but prepping to sprint again just going to help and drawing a lot of cards. I think we're going to go to fatigue in this game.
It's possible, but the thing is, the Rogue's been throwing away so much. Oof.
I mean, he has brought him down to 15 health, and you know, we can see that Unskiller's got a pretty strong board, but there's the Consecrate though, which actually changes everything. You can actually clear the board up fairly easily now.
Yeah, I mean, why attack with the 3 weapon? You can just wait another turn and then attack and go flurry for the burst damage. You don't want to do it. You don't want to lay it up. So, I mean, he's giving away huge tell in terms of, okay, you go 3 damage into phase, so Hawkeye will not play for value or tempo. He'll just go full on defensive. You know, you give him extra information for no real reason here.
Yeah, and you can definitely get a really good player up with Consecrate. I'm not too sure what his follow-up's going to be. Might even, would you just coin into Healbot to just be like hyper safe? If you can clear the board, of course. And the bomb does hit how he wants it to, so that's fine. Any damage to the Drake there or to the other minion would have been fine. He gets the 4 to face as well.
Not bad. Yeah, I don't mind the heal, but it's really safe. But he's playing a Salty Deckhand, so he's gotta be playing at least one Tinker, possibly two here.
Yeah, and I think the Healbot's fine because he sees the Rogue has so many cards that, you know, they do have the ability to do crazy burst, as Lothar rightly made the noises earlier that we described how the Rogue does that, so that was always good. But again, like, Unskillers, like you said, the Shredders come down, they're good versus the Patron matchup, but also just really good. It's just a really good 4-drop anyway, probably one of the best in the game at the moment. So he manages to just refill the board again with another Drake and a Shredder, and he has Lothar to follow up with after that if he really needs to.
I mean, Unskiller had an excellent hand in this game. All the draws he needs. He had the fan for the master early. He had the sprint with double prep. I mean, prep is one of the most important cards.
And Harrison into even more card draws. He's been able to dig so well.
Whereas now Hawkeye's drawing his first 2 silver champion. He hasn't drawn a shielded mini-bot yet, which is a key card in the matchup. I mean, okay, he's got Dr. Boom on curve, but other than that, I mean... So I feel like Hawkeye is just outplaying him here again.
Yeah, I mean, the True Silver can come down onto the Drake, or he could silence the Shredder and use True Silver on it, or, you know, maybe a mixture of those two, but he's deciding to just play Rag instead. I'm guessing hope it kills the Drake, but he's gone face, but there's no real way. Paladin's not really known for its burst damage, so hitting face is probably the worst option out of that. Maybe hitting the Shredder would be worse, depending on what comes out, but there's no way to sort of finish up the game. He doesn't have a Consecrate, he does have the weapon, which is okay, but follow up with, I mean, Lothar Healbot's such a good combo at 10 mana.
I don't know about that. Oof. I mean, how...
He could have actually fought, if he hadn't healed, he could have silenced the Ragnaros and just gone face to win.
You mean, so you mean sapped or what, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, if Unskiller didn't healbot them for whatever reason and hoped his board was full enough, Hawkeye's got the Owl in hand, so he could have actually silenced the Ragnaros to just go face for the win for the damage there, and he can still do 12 at the moment. I mean, he will have to focus on clearing up the board, though, because it is looking pretty grim.
I mean, he sets up lethal here, though, in terms of getting the South Sea and the Zap on the taunt, so maybe he figures he's okay with just taking one more hit from the Ragnaros, and I don't blame him for that. I mean, is there a possibility to come back from Hawkeye in terms of not, if he doesn't, I guess, tack the Shredder for Doomsayer here?
Yeah, I mean, well, he can silence the Ragnaros to probably kill off... It's whether he wants to take the risk. The Rogue's hand's really full, so you've got to presume that they've got some sort of burst, but I do agree with this play. Kill the Lothar. You only take 2 from the Drake and just hope it's enough, I guess, but, you know, the odds on the Rogue not being able to finish the match at this point, especially with so much card draw we saw from Unskiller, with the combination of the Sprint, the Harrison, the Fan of Knives. I mean, he's just cycled so well. He's just got so much damage in hand that he's going to finish this game out. So Unskiller, you know, Hawkeye lost the game, but it was a matchup he probably wasn't expecting to win anyway, so he's probably not going to be too upset about it. It's always a hard matchup, Paladin versus Rogue, and it went the way we thought it would, with the Rogue just answering, getting some good draws. The Harrison was decent, even though he had a slight misplay burning the cards when he didn't particularly have to. But yeah, overall, good play from Unskiller, and he does even it up 1-1.
I actually don't agree in terms of that. I think Unskiller looked really shaky. It was hard to, I think, lose that matchup from his side, especially with the draw in the matchup, and he looked almost like Hawkeye was going to make a comeback there. I mean, if I was Hawkeye, I'd be very confident going into Game 3 here, as, you know, you saw him burn a card, you saw him, you know, miss a few things, play a bit shaky, so, I mean, the Rogue is the easy win, and I don't see how he's going to make the Warrior and Hunter work here. I mean,
yeah, I think the plays earlier on when he did, you know, sort of slightly mess up the Harrison, weren't great, but I think after that he was pretty steady again. I don't think there was too much that was really... He just played for board control and knew, because of the sheer amount of card draw he had, he drew into the burst that he needed to finish the game off. Then the Lothar coming there, just stop building up the board, playing the Lothar, and, you know, as well. Just there's no real answer the Paladin's got, especially when he sat with Sap in his hand.
The thing is, though, you know, in terms of the deck choices here, not many players actually go for the Rogue with a handlock, because it isn't a class where you can just grind it out and play on curve, and, you know, you have to make decisions. You have to really think about how you're going to use your preps, how you're going to draw, and you can't really be snap playing like that. You have to take your time, think a minute at least per turn, And Unskiller was just playing this kind of like a shoe, just, whatever came to mind the first, at the start of the turn, he just kind of went for that. I mean, it works great for half the turns, but when it gets to the tough technical positions, it just doesn't work.
And Rogue's a class that's like that as well. It gets with all the combos and prepping stuff out. There's a lot of sort of technical plays you have to think quite far ahead. It's not like you said playing Zoo where there are technical abilities in that, but it's just a little bit simpler to just drop stuff down. But we do see that Unskiller's now locked in his Warrior against Hawkeye's Warlock.
Again, a strong matchup here for the Warrior, but I feel like Hawkeye still is in the mood that he's probably going to be losing to the Warrior at some point. If you can get a win with the Warlock, that'd be excellent, but you can't be going into this with high hopes.
Yeah, I mean, these two matchups haven't... it was difficult for them to go Hawkeye's way anyway because he won with his mage on his first game. These matchups were probably going to happen sooner rather than later. But I think he's going to still be pretty confident. Like you said, he just saw his opponent burn cards, which is in most cases not what you want to do. So maybe he thinks, okay, a little bit shaky, like you said, and he can still pull out the win. I don't think it's favoured enough for it to be a foregone conclusion. I don't think it's quite like the Rogue and Paladin match where it's extremely difficult to win as the Paladin.
Yeah, Unskiller has a vastly superior lineup in this matchup here, and but Hawkeye is playing so well. I really have to give him some credit for that. I mean, every choice from the Paladin side I just love.
Yeah, there was nothing particularly that stood out there, and he just ran into a bit of a hard start when you muster into Fan of Knives is never fun and definitely pulls you back there.
An excellent starting hand here, though. I mean, from Hawkeye. Definitely don't want the Soulfire or the Implosion, but Gang Boss into Twilight Trick is how you really get ahead. Throws away the Gang Boss, figures maybe the Death Bite will be a good counter there. But now looking at this matchup, I mean, Malilock versus Warrior is generally slightly favored for the Warrior. It depends on the draw a lot, and mediocre hand for Unskiller here.
Yeah, it's something like me and Nimsh were discussing in the last series is that the Warrior has the ability to pull out bigger combos sooner than the Warlock in most cases, and the Warlock has to maybe rely a little bit more on getting the bigger minions down and just making it hard for the patrons to duplicate. But I can see just the Armor Smith. Acolyte Deathbite is pretty okay with a slam. It's not terrible.
I want to talk about the Armor Smith. There's no good reason to go for the Armor Smith if you don't have a taskmaster to follow that up with. So, I mean, what is he going to do with with an Armor Smith? Is he going to, deal 3 damage over 3 turns here, or what? It essentially just builds up to a better scenario for a Hellfire Mortal Coil.
Yeah, I think now it's, as you said, the Hellfire Mortal Coil is definitely probably the worst case scenario here. But also, because he's put the Acolyte on the board, maybe he's thinking, well, both of these are targets you're going to want to remove, and if you remove the Acolyte, I only get 1 card draw, fine, but it'll probably take a Dark Bomb or something, and then the Armor Smith's still gaining armor from that. So,
but you don't really need armor in this position. It might even hurt you in terms of the battle rage. I mean, if you could play Control Warrior, sure, you can gain a lot of armor, and that's completely fine, but, as the patron, I mean, you generally are ahead on board, you're ahead on life, and it's about, are you able to kill the Malilock before he just, kind of grinds you out and you fatigue. So the Slam is an excellent choice here, though.
Yeah, I do agree, though, as well. I think I prefer in this matchup the Armor Smith to be used in maybe a big combo turn, just to get your health so stupid that, you can't really maybe be burst down. But, oh, did he just slam into Execute?
Execute top deck, yeah, that's convenient. But, I mean, if we look at the position with the Twilight Drake, you'd rather have the Armor Smith in your hand. So when you have that Frothington, you have an extra minion to be played out for more damage. You have, in terms of when you want to battle rage, you could have the Death Spire ready and then attack, drop the Armor Smith before attacking, of course, and then going for the battle rage with 1 more draw. So, I mean, the Armor Smith is doing what, 1 or 2 damage. Hawkeye doesn't care about that. If you have, if you didn't get the Execute, the Armor Smith would probably just die, give him 3 armor, maybe 3 damage to the face, but that's not as much as a draw in this scenario.
Yeah. Looking at Hawkeye's hand, I mean, 2 Hellfires are actually, you'd seem pretty good in this matchup, but there's just not too much you can really do at the moment. I think we're probably going to see the Dark Bomb onto the Acolyte, just because if you can reduce the Warrior's card draw, it's everything. It makes such an impact, and the fact that Unskiller's not managed to get like 4 small card draw into the Acolyte was really bad for him, actually. But he has had the Slam as well, and into the perfect Execute there. He's just got to drop Harrison because why not? It's another beefy minion for Hawkeye to try and deal with. It's not like there's weapons in this deck to actually draw more cards from.
A funny thing though is also the Malilock runs 2 BGHs and there's no target for the BGH, so At some point, he'll probably be playing that out just for the 4-2 body, but I mean, probably not in this case here. I kind of like the Ashwood. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the Belcher doesn't do a lot because of Harrison either. So, yeah, I like the Drake just to try and dig deeper. I mean, again, he could try and roll for the 4 implosion, but then you're making the Armor Smith better because then it can start trading away with the 1/1s. So, and it's just risky in itself to try an implosion, and if it's not 4, you're in such a bad position.
I don't think they know this how bad Unskiller's hand is. I mean, 3 weapons and 2 more minions, it's not where you want to be. I kind of like slamming first. I don't see why you wouldn't slam.
Yeah, he had a slight pause there running the...
Whoa, is he considering slamming the 1-2? Why on earth?
So I think what he wants to do is he's slamming that, putting 5 more damage with Harrison. Next turn, he has his weapon for 4, Harrison for 5, and then...
he doesn't have the Warsong to pull it off, though. I mean,
he's just hoping for a God Draw. That's it.
I mean, that's so desperate, though, so early in the game. I mean...
Or do you think because he's got the second weapon in hand, he can just continue to push for damage with the weapons, and he might just hit next turn regardless?
It's possible, but it's a bit premature. I mean, you could draw with a slam and be fine.
Yeah, I think he did pause slightly after he hit him with the weapon, hovered the Armor Smith over, then thought, oh yeah, you know, this might not be the best play. I maybe could have got another draw, and it's something he definitely needs. Patron on 4 cards when, you know, one's not Warsong is never great.
If he had a Warsong in hand, that would be all for this play, you know. But in this case, it's just a bit premature.
Yeah,
it's a favorite matchup for the Patron. You know, you just save up, get a 10-card hand, drop a few Patrons, Battle Rage again, go for the Emperor, and you know, get an overwhelming board with the Frothings on turn maybe 15, 16, 17, you know. And what can the Malilok really do to stop that? It takes longer for the Malilok to set up the Maligos Emperor combo, so you can just wait and be fine. I mean, now it's just shut down.
Yeah, we saw the Hellfire and the Dart Bomb come out, which is quite a lot to commit for a Harrison and I think it was a 1/1 Armor Smith. But, you know, it did clear the board. The Ghoul's going to follow up with the Berserker now, so hopefully I think Unskiller is just relying on the fact that he can't really clear the board again. And he can go for a kill next turn with the Whirlwind in hand as well. 4 damage from the weapon, to potentially 2 Whirlwind effects if there's another minion on the board to kill the Ghoul off.
The thing is, the Ghoul is actually going to be weak here. I mean, the Hellfire just clears this out completely. But maybe he isn't expecting a second Hellfire here. But I mean, overall, this is just not how you play this matchup. It's too aggressive. You don't need to play this aggressive. You can just sit back and draw.
Yeah, because something the Malagos like normally doesn't do is rush you down. They're all about just you know, playing the bigger minions, getting the tempo, and just waiting for the combo. He's gonna go for implosion. Okay, does he just?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see what he follows up with in case we've missed something. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. I'll let him off with that play. That was actually really good.
Yeah,
I was just at first with the implosion onto a Ghoul. I was like, you do know they die, right? But Hawkeye's really good at the game, so of course he knows.
I mean, if he runs into 2, he just loses the game, though. In that case, like, he hits 2 with the implosion.
Yeah, he had the silence as well, though. He has got 2 owls in hand, so he could have at least stopped the frothing. You know, hitting hard, it would just hit for 2. So there was, I suppose, a backup plan, but it happened where it did work out. I mean, the odds on him hitting the enough to kill the Ghoul were higher, and he got some use out the big game hunter.
That top deck, this may come in really handy to wait it with the Hellfire here. I mean, he can kill 2 of them at least. I kind of want to see him play the Fire Warlocks here after attacking.
Yeah, that's not a bad play at all. To get the actual Whirlwind effect off will be huge.
I mean,
is he going to play it over? No, he's just going to go for the armor up. I guess 4's okay. I mean, 1's on 1 health, but you've got 2 full health ones and 3 2. And if he'd gone sort of even more all in, then he loses the potential to follow up because he's basically top decking now.
Yeah.
And we do see that Hawkeye does have the other Hellfire in hand, and he has had for pretty much all the game as well. So.
I feel like what last turn though, going for that implosion, is just the risk he needed to be taking. I mean, he probably runs then 2 Hellfire, no Shadow Flame, I guess.
I think it's 2 Hellfire, 1 Shadow Flame.
Okay, that's really defensive and good against Patron, so must be his thinking. But yeah, I'm kind of feeling like Unskiller would have wished he'd gone for that slam for the draw earlier, you know.
Yeah, and just dug that a little bit deeper as well, because there's another patron, but what does he do? I mean, he's at a really awkward... I don't think we've seen Battle Rages either, which would have been fantastic in the previous turn, to just try and put squeeze in a Battle Rage there, but he's been a bit short on the draw at the moment, with missing the slam. He got the first slam into the execute, which was great, but missing the slam there, and then his first Acolyte getting killed straight off for just one card, is really hurting him now.
I think the main thing is, you know...
Oh god, implosion into Warsong Grim Patron.
Ouch.
And the Cruel Taskmaster.
The thing is though, you know, I felt he was playing so aggressively anyway that he needed to commit to it. In terms of, you know, looking at... Going for the fireworks as well, getting the 6 patrons instead of the 4, you know, and really just banking on a Hawkeye not having the AoE to finish that up, but... You see a full clear here and a lot of patrons, so what can Hawkeye really do? I mean, he'll have to silence the War Song, but other than that, I mean...
Yeah, and the thing for Unskiller as well is he's looking really rough, but going patron into War Song straight after an implosion, and he's seen two of the Hellfires, so he knows he's safe versus that at least.
I want to talk about one thing though, not going for the 5-2 into the 1-1. And the reason I kind of don't like that is he could possibly now silence the 3-3 and Shadow Flame if he had the Shadow Flame, you know. But if you attack with the 5-1, you get 2 3-health minions, so you couldn't go out Shadow Flame.
Yeah, and there's Hawkeye just going to concede because, like I said, after 2 Hellfires, he doesn't have much left to really deal with it. He had a Siphoned Soul, but again, Unskiller managed to fill the board up, and there we go. I think that was looking really dicey for Unskiller actually, and there were some interesting plays, and the fact that he went into his second patron straight after his board got wiped into Warsong, straight after an implosion that Hawkeye probably thought it was fairly safe because he's just seen patrons himself and cleared them. Was Unskill's probably thinking, you know, a bit lucky with that one. That was a bit close because he had no card draw after that.
The thing is, you know, in terms of the matchup were really safe, I guess, you know, Rogue versus Paladin and Patron versus Malilok, you don't need to be taking crazy risks, you know, you save those for the other way around, I guess, if you're playing Paladin versus Rogue. So I felt if you're taking a lot of risks, why is he taking all these risks in terms of, you know, skipping the slam and going really aggressive? So yeah, I mean, Hawkeye is down 2-1, but I think he still has the chance. I mean, now it's only the weak Hunter left for Unskiller, but we're actually going to take a quick break here. So we'll be back in a few minutes for the remainder of the series. Will Hawkeye come back, or will Unskiller take a 3-1 series here? Yeah.
My brothers say I spend too much time in the forge. They think it ain't befitting a king. Ah! You don't forge legendary weapons like mine while sitting on a throne. The lands of Cosmodan are mine. And when I bring the pain, lads, it's hammer time!
And welcome back to the second semi-final here of the Gfinity Summer Masters. Hawkeye versus Unskiller, 2-1 for Unskiller. It's heating up now, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Unskiller, it was a really tight game. We thought Unskiller had lost, but a couple of good draws, one after the other, into the relatively maybe safe implosion, Hawkeye thought. Really just flipped the game over there, and I think Hawkeye's got a bit of an uphill climb now, because I think Unskiller's got his Hunter left, and maybe not the best matchup Hunter versus the Paladin, But Hunter versus Malilok, I think, is actually favoured for the Hunter because they don't really have to try and play around the Moltons of, say, a handlock. And they can actually, as long as they get a decent start and can keep the momentum, they can go hyper-aggressive and just keep going face.
The thing is about the Hunter, it's not a face Hunter, it's more of a mid-range Hunter, so it plays a bit slower. And you have the Abusive plus Big Game Hunter combo for the Savannas or the Lothebs, where you just kill them off. And I feel like Hawkeye is playing so well that I actually think he might get the reverse sweep here and take it 3-2. But it'll be interesting to see. I think the key cards will definitely just be the start for Unskiller here, and how Hawkeye decides to queue into this. I think he should probably start with a Paladin just for the ego boost in there.
Yeah, I think you just start Paladin. You know, against Hunter, it's one of those, again, just another choice. We discussed quite a lot the way players approach the Conquest format. I mean, he could start Paladin just to get the win, and why not? Because it should be a win on paper. But he could also start with the Warlock with the idea of, you know, I need to win with this deck to take the series anyway. Do I just save my easier matchup for the last game and just be much more comfortable? But yeah, I think personally I would go with the Paladin just to, like you said, just get a win and sort of build up your momentum back again, because that was a really rough game for Hawkeye. He was actually really far ahead, and then just the card draw into for Unskiller into the Patron into the Warsong straight after ruined him there.
We're going to see Hunter into the Warlock now. First time in this series that Unskiller brings out the Hunter. I've seen the Warlock before, but this should be an interesting match. I think it'll be harder for Hawkeye to win with the Warlock, so I think this might actually be the deciding game of the series here. The thing about the Paladin is, before we had the Sue dominant with the Undertaker, etc. But as soon as the Paladin got the Minibot and the Muster, there was nothing Sue could do against that. If you go the Minibot and the Muster, the Sue just crumbles in terms of that. And the mid-hunter kind of plays like Sue actually in terms of you know, having a solid opening into 6 drops versus Sue kind of has more of the Doomguard instead of the Savannah. So it plays similarly in the early game. And another thing is, you know, you have a lot of 1-1s to tank the Freezing Trap as the Paladin there. But now looking at the starting hands, I mean, Hunter has the coin is always a great feeling. Not as important as, let's say, the Playmaker or the Rogue, but still not bad. Starting hand for Hawkeye is not bad here. I mean, he has the heal bot, he has the Owl, which is not bad. You want to play that on curve if possible. There's no drop here from Unskiller.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot in this matchup. The sort of, at least in the early game, sort of trying to play around Unleash both players. Maybe like, you know, you do want to drop Ink Gang Boss. I imagine we might well see it because it just trades well with the Juggler. But then you open up a bit more, you know, an answer to Unleash, and then Implosion sort of does the same. So it's going to be a real tricky one. And oh wow, okay. So Hunter's Mark was a pretty good draw there, and is he going to just play out the Animal Companion? Is it always Huffer? Oh, Leok, okay. Oof, I just missed though.
Ouch.
I think this is still okay though, because the Gang Boss is still going to die versus whatever it
he can silence
attacks
it now
into.
though, but it's not going to be that good.
Yeah, because the Juggler's buffed, he would have to like double silence just for the Gang Boss to survive, but then it's not spoiling any minions. So I think running it into the Juggler's okay.
I wouldn't mind an Implosion though on the Juggler just to be safe. I mean, or possibly just Implosion in the Leok.
Yeah, it's a real tough one actually. Maybe Implosion Leok's okay. It's really tough though, because if you Implosion Leok and then Unleash the Hound sort of just counters that, then it's really strange board to try and deal with. But on Unskiller's side, another Animal Companion and the Houndmaster could actually really change the game. If Leok survives and Houndmaster and Leok, it makes it really difficult to get rid of as a 4-6.
I mean, it's looking, if you have 2 Gang Bosses and an Implosion, you're not going to be really playing around Unleash that much.
Yeah, I don't really think you can afford to.
And Hawkeye agrees and goes for the Implosion to the Leok. Hits for 3 and probably trades now into the Juggler. I mean, even if he goes for the Hummer, it's not all bad for Hawkeye.
Yeah, he can still definitely get some work done, because there's no way for him to really heal him up past that, heal Leok up past that health. But he's going for the coin low. Okay, that's an interesting play. I didn't think we'd see that actually. Although it's still under the Big Game Hunter mark there, so it's still relatively
what
safe.
What is he gonna go for next turn though? That's my question. Why not go for the Houndmaster now, save the coin, have a guaranteed 5 drop for the turn 5?
Yeah, it's going to be really awkward. If this was like leading up to Animal Companion Houndmaster, then fine, great. But even like next turn, he could bow or just Animal Companion Hero Power. But looking at the board, that might not really work out too well. It won't do enough.
I mean, it's playable possibly, but Unskiller just snap played it again, as we've been talking about. You know, playing these turns really fast.
Especially because Lotheb has such an impact maybe later on in this game. Maybe he just wants to close it out quick, get a 5-5 on the board, it's not going to trade too well with so the imps aren't going to trade too well with the Lothar, but maybe it's just relying on that. And luckily enough, you know, he does have the bow into the heal bot, which is okay. It's a pretty clean kill, and into snake trap, which we've been seeing more and more of recently in Hunter.
Bad here, but I mean, I feel like Unskiller was ahead in the game, but it's just another way for Hawkeye to come back in terms of going for the Helm after turn 4, Lothar turn 5. I mean, it's just been better all around. I don't see a reason why to not go for that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange choice. Might have to ask him about that after the match. Looking at this hand, I suppose the Lothab's now contesting the Emperor. Would you... The problem is that the cards in his hand aren't really too great to Emperor anyway, so he's probably just going to save that one and maybe just, yeah, go follow it with the Implosion. That's almost certainly going to kill the... Oh,
only
he only gets 2, so he has to
yeah.
trade one of the minions in. Oh no, sorry, he can't, because he'd already attacked with it. That's really bad, actually. This Lothar survived forever.
Yeah.
Incredible. And now he gets a good draw for the Houndmaster. And this is now, I mean, without any AoE, this is turning into a real problem for Hawkeye. As he then draws Hellfire.
This is the perfect draw here for Hawkeye. I mean, does it get any better in terms of the Hellfire? Might even silence.
Yeah, I think with 2 owls in hand, I was just going to say, it might actually be worth just silencing there, just to fully clear the board.
But even maybe possibly just dropping the Imgang boss after the Hellfire, or, you know, I think I actually like attacking in and then going for the Imgang boss after Hellfire, I mean, in this case. There's going to be another charge on the bow, though. You know, Hawkeye's going to be at 14. There's a bow charge. There's 2 Haunted Creepers. Backdoor Spider's going to be left. A quick shot. So I feel like Unskiller's ahead, but he's still, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Hellfire is going to be pretty strong here. I'm guessing there's no reason for Hawkeye not to attack in with a 1-1, because why not test the trap? And if you can bounce a 1-1 with Freezing Trap, the Warlock's going to be pretty happy. So, are we... So we do see the silence. Okay, is he going to attack him first, though?
You want to get the 2 damage
yeah.
for sure. But oh, okay. Doesn't want to give him the extra charge on the... But he must figure it's going to be a snake trap, but still this doesn't matter for him.
Yeah, I suppose the Hunter's only got a couple of cards left in his hand, so maybe he thinks, you know what, maybe I don't have to actually trade directly into a minion. He might just try and plan to never proc that trap, because, you know, the Warlock's got a lot of spells, like, you know, Soulfire and, you know, Dart Bomb, maybe Dart Bomb Mortal Coil to deal with, say, a Misha or something that's on the board now, so...
He'll have to silence the Misha, I mean, if he's still going to be going for face. I think in this case, though, the Warlock had to play passive and for the board control, not the board control here. As I don't really see him killing the Hunter before the Hunter kills him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of damage here, and there's no heal and no taunt. Like, Argus is actually a big card in this matchup for the Malygos, because they don't run other, like, say, Handlock runs a lot of taunt creatures and taunt givers. Like, even just the Argus is, or even a Belcher would have been huge, and we've not actually seen that yet.
He's used the heal bot and has the Earth Ring, but it's still not enough. This is iffy. Goes for the silence on the Shredder, not bad. He's just playing kind of aggressive here. Okay.
Yeah, he needs 1 damage to win, right? I didn't even see what that card was. He played it so fast. Oh, it was Owl, so can he draw into the extra damage? We're still not seeing Unleash. Oh, it's Freezing Trap.
Okay. Probably not.
Yeah, you don't even play Freezing Trap now, right? Not that I don't. Not that I think the bounce of the 3/3 is going to be huge anyway.
For 5 mana,
yeah. At this point, it's probably going to be game, and that.
You can Mortal Coil to start with, at least. That's something.
Yeah, I think you definitely. You know, I mean, this is the potential final game for Hawkeye here, so I think you definitely just do your best and try and draw into something at least. And this is why I really like this matchup as Hunter. You sort of just got full free reign to put on as much pressure as possible. Because as I say, if it was Handlock, you've got to worry. If they pop up double Molt and taunt, you're in some serious issues. But whereas this, you can just go really aggressive. And like
he
you said,
gets the Vulture though, but it's just not going to be enough.
Yeah, it comes back to the point of just Unskiller's lineup overall. I think just unfortunately for Hawkeye, his whole lineup does pretty well versus Hawkeye's there.
Unskiller going to be in the finals. It's exciting for him. I mean, yeah, he looked better in game 3 though. He seems to be growing. In game 4, I mean, he seems to be growing over the series.
Yeah, there's a couple of maybe slight shaky moments, but I think the knowledge, like I said, he was talking to Nimshare before this match, and he said that he's really confident about his lineup, especially against Hawkeyes. So I think the confidence of saying, well, actually, my lineup just beats most of yours, especially with the way the matches went, with the Mage going off the table so quick and then getting the wins after that, was really good for Unskiller. And hey, he took the game.
That's what Nims was kind of talking about. Yeah, he was confident going to the series on the lineup, but he may look a bit shaky for the final, I have to say, because he didn't play the series as well as Hawkeye, I believe, so I kind of feel bad for him. But I mean, the lineup is the most important thing when it comes to these, semi-finals. As I mean, it's going to be amazing players in every single position. So, going to be heading over to the analyst desk. Take it away, Callum.
Thanks, Caldi. Guys, we're sitting up here a little bit stunned, to be honest. Hawkeye, we talked about it, looked like the strongest player of the tournament so far. Unskiller was the underdog. He looked perhaps maybe a little bit nervous, was a guy that we didn't know too much about, and he came in here and it was a very perplexing series in a number of ways. And I think one word, Lothar, that kind of sums up this series: implosion.
Not really. I think Hawkeye made two.
All right, fine. Let's just cut across what I was saying.
I just think that implosion. Yeah, that wasn't lucky, but he could have avoided that.
Yeah.
We were talking about the situation, like his lineup was really bad against lineup from Unskiller, but he was playing really, like most of the situation was really playing so solid. And then he made two crucial mistakes. When against the patrons, he had a way out to not even play the implosion. That was way better.
Yep.
So he would have just denied the lucky top deck from Unskiller there. And then in the match against Hunter in the last game, he could have just sacrificed the third imp into the low tap because he had the implosion already in hand.
Yeah.
So he would guarantee the trade next turn because he already knew that there's a snake trap in his opponent deck because he knows the exact deck list. And I think that was the biggest mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a shame because there was a lot of plays from Hawkeye in that set as well that were genuinely fantastic.
Yeah, like the Hellfire big game hunter.
The big game hunter play to clear the Frothing Berserker was so good on so many levels. Like, one, to even see it in the first place, a lot of people would have just missed it. Secondly, he understood that he needed to preserve the Hellfire for the exact situation that came up, which was the board of patrons. And then thirdly, to execute it all perfectly. But as you say, that the play with the Acolyte of Pain was just so bizarre because I think we all agree the players just play Drake and then play Owl and silence the Acolyte of Pain.
Because then you bait the patron if he has
right, yeah, and then you have double implosion in your hand. The Drake will live because there's no way that he'll just Warsong Patron, kill the Owl, he'll have two patrons. You have a live Drake with a guaranteed minimum 3 roll on implosion and 2 implosions in your hand. And the game just ends because at that point you've seen both patrons, so your imps that are a massive risk usually are perfect.
And the game was as good as over. I mean, we were sitting there watching it and thinking that the game was over. The patron had run out of cards, had too many weapons in hand, had no draw mechanics, and you can see what the thought process was from Hawkeye, that he was denying the second card draw off the Acolyte. He was giving him only 1 card instead of 2, and perhaps off a Battle Rage that could have come off the top. But in doing that, he only denied him 1 card, but then left him with the imps, which are so good for patron. It just seems like there are some cards which you just can't play in the late game, and Hawkeye kind of violated that rule, Lothar.
Yeah, I just think that Hawkeye didn't embrace the chance that he was given. Like he was favored as a player. His decks were bad against his opponent. Then he had the opportunity to take the games twice, and he didn't just grasp it. So as many misplays that Unskiller made, they really didn't matter if you don't take them and gain advantage from your opponent being bad at the game.
Just as a general point about Unskiller, he's playing so quickly. It's like it's almost unforgivable to me to play that quickly. Like, I understand that sometimes nerves just makes you just rapid fire things. You know, you'd almost think the names were reversed and that Unskiller was Hawkeye, the way he was firing cards like arrows from a bow.
That's the pun you told me about?
That's the pun I told you about, yeah. Cool. Did you like it? Score out of 10?
It's not great.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's Callum, so you know.
Yeah, but yeah,
the terrible puns are my gig and Nimsh's. That's
okay. I'll leave it to the pros.
It's an exclusive club.
But yeah, he played so quickly. There were numerous misplays that we saw between them.
Both
coin lower theb instead of Houndmaster.
There were a couple of times as well that Unskiller, it looked like he was playing. He wasn't thinking his turns through before he was playing. He was just going, okay, I play this first, and playing it, and then thinking, okay, now what do I do with the rest of my mana? Rather than thinking, I'm trying to think what the specific example was.
Not prepping before he played
Yes,
Hearthstone.
exactly. Not
but yeah,
prepping.
for the most part, like Cowdy did an excellent job on cast. He caught most of the situations
and the
that we
double
wanted
deadly
to bring
poison
up.
as well.
Double deadly poison
for
no reason as well,
Really
bizarre plays.
This slam no draw.
Yes. Yeah.
There were numerous things that could have just improved by thinking just 2 seconds longer.
Right. But again, like it's hard. It's easy to paint the picture of the game as the person who played better didn't win, which is probably factually true. But the fact also remains that the person who played better throughout the set had the opportunity to make correct plays at key periods that would have led him win.
And he didn't do that.
And he did not do it.
Exactly. So our number one thing to take away for Unskiller going into the final would be slow it down a little bit.
Slow down.
Basically, you've got such a big opportunity in the final. Let's take a look at our final in the bracket. We can see our 2 semi-finals, our 2 favorites, Tom60229 and Hawkeye, falling in the semi-finals. Legend Darren and Unskiller is your final for the Gfinity Summer Masters 1. The trophy, the $5,000 first prize those two will be playing for. Going into that, based on what we've seen, particularly in the last series, you'd probably say Legend Darren's going to be a favorite for our final.
Oh, let me check the lineups. Because
Legend Darren has the Warrior, Warlock, and Rogue.
So he has the Rogue. That might be really important. And it will be like the matchups will be less polarized that we just saw.
We saw Hawkeye's unconventional lineup kind of punish him a little bit.
Yes, like Paladin versus Rogue is awful from the beginning of the game. It's like, ugh. Even when you see a prep eviscerate 1/1.
Right, just to clear cards out of his hand.
Yeah, it's like, oh god, this matchup is so awful that you're not even being punished by such play. So then the Hunt versus Warlock, it's always a disadvantage because it's purely based on the hero powers. They're like, Warlock is being helpful to the Hunter to achieve his goal. So,
you draw all the cards you want. Our hero powers mean that I'm doing 4 damage a turn. Like, that's fine. I'm going to kill you.
So that's going to be that is the matchup of Unskiller versus Legend Darren, with the Hunter and the Warlock being the different matches there. So we're going to go to a break now. It's going to be a little bit of a longer break. We're going to be back here in 15 minutes to get you prepped for the final Legend Darren versus Unskiller for the Gfinity Summer Masters 1 Championship here on Championship Sunday. Don't go anywhere. Do go somewhere, probably, because I don't want you just sitting there for 15 minutes watching a break screen.
That does sound
get
quite
some
awful.
matches.
So go do something, but then make sure you're
Play
back
a game
here.
on ladder, then come back.
Yeah,
Right.
Play a brawl.
Good.
make sure you're back here in time in 50 minutes for the final. Thank you very much for watching so far.
So, is he gonna turn that sheep into a devil sword?
That or a squirrel, it's a 50-50 chance. Oh.
Oh, is he okay?
An ogre stepped on him and he's a squirrel, so no.
Hearthstone, play it free. Rated T.
Yeah.